Ay, 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 ay. What? I always do. Me and my bright orange shirt. Weesh. Why does it seem like I'm so much bigger? Oh, maybe I got a break. No. Uh-oh, Mike. So test is tomorrow. How do you feel? Hey, Noe, that's awesome. I'm glad to help you. What's next? So we got Mike taking a test tomorrow. We got Noe who passed it. Yeah, tons of suitability. Wait, on the top off or on the look at that. Everyone's passed. You all don't have to sit there and listen to my crap for the next 30 minutes. That's awesome. So Mike G, you're getting some good vibes here. All these people passing, so you're up next. No pressure or anything. That's great, Tegan. I love it that you passed. How was it? Anything you can add to the group to make them feel better? Right. That's why I tell everyone it's all about the regs, the FINRA rules. It's so much about that. That's why I don't like to push STC. I don't. But they're the only ones that I know where the chapters are. Okay. So are you still reading, Mike? Okay. Okay. So if you have questions, is it Berlados? Okay. Any questions you got? That's great. But let's see. So no, we passed. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. Is that the top off, or was that the this one, the SIE? If it was the top off, that is awesome. So then you're pretty much almost done, except for the state exam. The SIE, lots of suitability, huh? Was it more about the risks, like what each risk was and stuff like that? That's what it should have been. Okay. So Dan, you're taking your test on the 26th. I like it. That's a lot of time, man. As long as you keep reading, that's going to be some good stuff. So Mike, since you're testing tomorrow in Berlado, where are we? So Mike said you're passing all 84s. That's good. Don't stop reading. Don't ever stop reading on this. How we doing, Berlado? What is your scoring and stuff like that? You can always, I don't know if you can do private messages in here or not. If you don't want to tell your score, it's fine. But it's all love in here. We're all happy. My wife doesn't think I'm that nice, but it's okay. So I'm getting still more feedback that it's still about a lot of my students have now been saying they see a ton of risks. So let's go. I know that I did a video on it, but let's talk about some of this stuff a little bit. So until you guys have questions. So what's systemic risk? Anybody know what systemic risk is? I will take a lead on this one. So we have systemic risk. That is if the whole market. So if you buy stock, say you buy Amazon, it makes money. It prints money. Facebook prints money. Google prints money. They make money. Great companies making money all the time. But then the market drops. If the market drops, like, and look, I'm not saying either way, but say our president says something wrong on there and so they go after him or he says something wrong, the market drops 500 points. Those companies will drop also. Even though they're solid companies, they will drop also. And you're right. Dan, you cannot diversify systemic away. Because even if you buy stocks, bonds, real estate, you buy tech, you buy this. If you think of 2008 when the market crashed, the crisis, everything you owned went to shit. So it didn't matter what you bought. The only way out of that is really by index puts. Index puts. If I buy an index put, what happens is as the market drops, that index put gets more and more expensive. So if you buy one for like $5 and the market drops 100 points, it might be worth like 200 points. So there you go. You're making money that way. Again, if you want to go heavy into that, I have sessions we can do. But you have to pay for it. Okay. So we have, right, Mike, inflation, right. Inflation, market risk, interest rates are all versions of systemic risk. They're across the board. Market risk is what I just talked about. Inflation you can't get rid of because it's going up. Inflation. What is inflation? Inflation is the cost of goods rising. So what happens is if you have a fixed income that pays the same amount of money every 6 months or every month, you're getting $50 every month. But what you used to buy for 50 now costs 52, 53, 54, and you can't buy as much, so you're losing money. Okay. Interest rate risk, I think we've done this before, but interest rate risk is as interest rates in the economy, which now, who directly affects interest rates? The Federal Reserve. So when the economy is going strong, they'll raise the investment rates, the interest rates, and that should slow down the economy, but all the other rates start rising also. So what happens is as rates go up, your bond that's at 5%, say, starts dropping in price because it's not as attractive. Okay. Now, okay, that's fine. You use that as a good acronym. So MIRI, market interest rate. I guess it's inflation. Inflation corresponds to purchasing risk. Okay, that's fine, Bellato. That's good. So let's see. I use Kaplan 8492 and simulated 70% of mastery. The mastery on these things are tough. Okay, and if you're in the good thing about that practice is in by FINRA, it is actually a little tougher than the actual SIE. It is. I mean, it's not like it's worlds harder. It's more about getting used to the wording, but some of their questions are more difficult. Okay. Now, I like your scores. The mastery exam, Kaplan has a habit. Sure, I can do reverse stock splits. Yeah, Eric, I'll get to that one too. So Kaplan, their questions are a little more difficult in like a not a good way. Like sometimes it's good to get yourself harder questions, but sometimes their questions are harder in like a not related to the test way. Like they make you do a bunch of laps around the pool before they ask your question. So Kaplan's good. If you're doing well on that, you should be fine. Okay. Yeah, that's very true. Kaplan is out to they looking like they're out to trick you. Not a mean. I just think they think that works. A lot of the vendors do that. Like I tell everyone, I've taken these exams and I get 99s on the actual FINRA exams. I get 1 or 2 wrong. I'm not trying to brag. I should get that. But I get mid-80s on these vendor ones because sometimes you don't even know what they're asking. Okay. Now, a reverse stock split. Let me talk about a regular stock split first. Okay? Okay. So a regular stock split is, say you have 100 shares of a $50 stock. They split the stock in half. So basically, it's like a pizza. They're just cutting it in half. It's still the same pizza, it's just 2 pieces. So if you want 100 shares of a $50 stock, you now own 200 of a 25. It's still the same amount of money. It's just a marketing tool to make it cheaper. Like, and I know you asked about reverse, but I'm trying to do this. So like Google maybe 5-6 years ago was trading at 1,200. And I'm like, I'm not paying 1,200 for a stock. But then when it's split, I bought 2 shares at 600. It's moronic. It's the same thing. But in my mind, I got a better deal. But it's really just the way it looks. Now, a reverse is when the company stock is getting too low. Like Citigroup, like 6 years ago, it couldn't get over $5. No matter what it did, it stayed under $5. And the rule is a lot of institutionals, institutions cannot buy stock under 5. It's just the way in their charter, whatever it is. So what they did was Citigroup goes, I can't get under $5. So what they did was they did a 1-for-10 reverse split. So they basically said for every one share, for every 10 shares you own, we're going to give you 1. So if you own 100 shares at $5, you now own 5 shares, 10 shares at $50. It's the same total balance, but you now have a stock that's a $50 stock. It usually is a sign of a death that the company's on its deathbed. Because a lot of times they'll do it, the stock gets down to a penny or 5 cents, which is not attractive, and they'll do like a 1 for 100 to get it up to $5 a share. So so now the reverse stock split again is where you get less shares worth more. I always do that. Less shares worth more. It's always going to be the same. 100 shares at $50 will always be worth $5 grand. So if they do a regular split, maybe you own 200 shares at 25, that's still $5 grand. Or if it's a reverse split, maybe you own 10 shares at 500, still $5 grand. Doesn't change. I hope that helps a little bit. Okay. Okay. When can a rep borrow funds for an account? Do you mean when can he borrow from an account from a client? Well, normally the answer is pretty much you can't. But there are exceptions. Like if your client is immediate family, you can do that. Again, I have family in the business, so if I couldn't borrow money from them, I couldn't. It was going to be a problem. So, so they allow you to borrow and lend from immediate family member who are clients, and if you have an outside business relationship with them, you can borrow and lend, or if they're a lending institution. But what that means is that if your account is Bank America, you can't borrow from the president of the bank, but you can borrow from the bank. Okay, so you can go through the normal. It's called an at an arm's length. You can borrow from the bank using their normal processing. So they run the. So basically, what's going to happen is they're going to run your underwriting like a normal customer. That's the only time they can borrow and lend. Now, here's the trick one. Can broker dealers lend to customers? Of course they can. Under Regulation T, that's margin. Don't get confused on that. They say broker dealer lends funds to a client. They're talking about margin, and they use Reg T, which you have to use a secured loan of against their assets. Okay. Okay. So yeah, you've seen this question. So SIPC, basically, it covers you for when the broker dealer files for bankruptcy. That's the way it does. Okay. Okay. I'll look at that in a second. Okay. No, I'll look at that in a second. So now, where the heck am I? Okay, so SIPC covers up to $500,000. $250,000 of that can be cash. They cover you from the day the broker dealer files for bankruptcy. The value of the shares is based on that day, no others. Because if it was anything else, maybe you try to game it. It's basically they file bankruptcy, boom, that's your day. I hope that helps. Okay. Now, Dan, if I'm long stock, I'm not going to go heavy into this because this is my moneymaker on the top off part. If you're long stock, you want it to go up. You're afraid it's going to go down. So what you would do to protect, you would buy a put. A put gives you the opportunity to sell. So if you buy stock at 50 and you buy a 50 put at say 2, you can't lose more than 2. Because even if the stock goes to 0, you can still sell it at 50 and you lost the 2. That's it, what you paid for the put. So if you're long stock and you hear protection, you buy a put. So long stock, you either sell a call or buy a put. If they say they want income, you sell a call. Long stock, you either sell a call or buy a put. There are no other choices. Sell a call for income, buy a put for protection. Now, if you're short stock, when it's go down, you're afraid it's going to go up. So you would want to lock in a buy price. So if you're short stock, you buy a call for protection or you sell a put for income. So, we see its connection. I sell for income, I buy for protection. So I'm going to do it one more time. Buy stock, buy a put for protection, sell a call for income. Short stock, buy a call for protection, sell a put for income. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Bralato, on the record retention, it's actually pretty easy. There's a couple exceptions. First of all, customer complaints is 4 years. We're good. Leave that out. Everything is 3 years. I know there's an exception, but everything you retain is 3 years, 2 years readily accessible. So again, record retention, it's going to be 4 years for complaints. Do that, we'll throw it out. Everything is 3 years, 2 years readily accessible. The only ones that are 6 years are what I call the big sacks. Like Santa carries 6 big sacks over his shoulder. 6 big sacks. It's phonetically. B for blotter. G for general ledger, that's the big. Sacks. S for stock records. And CS, customer statements. That's the sacks. BG, blotter, general ledger. SCS, sacks, stock records, customer statements. That's the 6 years. Other and life, anything to do with forming the company is lifetime. Board of director minutes, Form ADV or Form BD, those are all for lifetime. Okay. Okay. About the stock split, my question said the company has 1,500 shares and a 25 grand value. A 744 stock split, that's not reverse, that's a regular, and determine the value. Okay, that's good. So you saw that. So really, it would still be 25 grand. It wouldn't change. So a 7-for-4 stock split is such a strange number, but you're getting 7 shares for every 4 you own. Okay. So it's either way, it's going to be 25,000. But if you really want to figure out how many shares you do, the way I do it, I take the first number divided by the second. So I take 7 divided by 4 equals 1.75. Yeah, you can't see that on my calculator, but it's 1.75. Then I just multiply that times the shares. If I did the right numbers, that'd be helpful. 1,500. So now I have 2,625 shares, but it's still going to be worth 25,000. So I could do 25,000 divided by 2,625, and I get $9.52. Hope that helps a little. Okay? I really hope that helps a little bit. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Noe, for that. That's very, very helpful. Okay. You giving me an early night tonight? Is that what you're doing? Because it's a Thursday. I didn't get any love. Sorry about last night, but I had to go to my son's soccer game, and my wife would have killed me if I missed it. Since this is free, I'm not getting paid for it. So again, a lot of the risks. Let's go back. Oh, Mike, I didn't see your question. So let me go. I go back up again. Okay. Eric, is there an instance that an insider can buy an IPO? Okay. An insider can only, so an insider, they get IPOs. Most of the questions are going to be more about, can a member of a broker-dealer buy on an IPO? That's usually how they're going to do it. So the question will be, if you're a restricted person, buy on a common stock IPO? The answer is no. Okay? So if I work for a broker-dealer or a money manager or any kind of anyone in the business, I cannot buy on common stock IPOs. I can buy once it's trading. I cannot buy on the offering. But I can buy preferred, I can buy bonds, and I can buy additional offerings. Remember, an IPO is the first time. I can't do it. But anytime they issue again and again and again, I can buy. I can always buy inside in the general market, in the trading market, but I cannot buy on the actual allocation. Hope that helps a little. Now, Mike, open-end fund shares redemption is the NAV. So basically, the NAV is what the fund is worth, all the assets divided by the number of shares. And remember, the shares changes all the time because as you buy, they create shares. And as you redeem, they destroy them. So the number of shares changes all the time. That's why it's called open-end, first of all. So again, if an open-end fund, you buy and sell at NAV. But when you buy it, you may pay a sales charge, max 8.5%, or a sales load, they call it. If it's Class A, you definitely pay a sales charge as you go in. Class B, you do it when you leave, and it ratchets down every year, every time you own it. Okay. And Oh, computed after the order? I got it. Okay, so now the next part is Class C, you pay kind of a level load, but you will have to pay 12B1 fee, okay? Okay. Now, so when you buy into a mutual fund, you get the NAV that's computed after the order. So that's not super big, but look, if you buy the stock anytime before 3:59.59, you get the NAV calculated at 4 p.m. or 4:15, whenever it is. If you buy at 4 p.m. or later, you get the one the next day at 4 p.m. Okay? So again, NAV. So NAV is calculated after you buy it. You don't buy the one before, then I would just game it. So you're going to get the NAV that is calculated after the order. So if you place it at 4, boom. No, the next close, not the previous close, the next close. So if you buy it at 3:59, it's that day. If you buy it at 4:01, it's going to be the next day. Same. If you buy it before 4, it's the same day. If you buy it at 4, it's the next day. See, it's tired. I make mistakes. Okay. Now, yeah, I'm not teaching you how to be a financial advisor. Just get on the phone and call them. That's all you got to do. And beg them for your money. Okay, so now, order types. Okay, so let's do a couple of those. So do we all know what a market order is to buy? Yeah, just buy the damn thing. Just, I want to buy it. I don't care about price. Okay? Now, okay, we'll come back to it. So if you have a market order, I'm just buying the thing. Don't worry about it. If I give you a limit order, okay. If I give you a limit order, I'm saying buy it at a certain price. Buy 100 shares at 50. That means I want to buy it at 50 or lower. If I say sell 100 shares at 50, I want to sell it at 50 or higher. That's normal orders. Those are good till the end of the day, till 4 p.m. If it's an immediate or cancel, it's a limit order that says buy 100 shares IOC. Buy 100 shares at 50 IOC. Immediate or cancel. That means I want to buy as much as I can and right now at this time, and then cancel the rest. Okay? So I'm going to buy as much as I can and then cancel the rest. So I can buy partials with immediate or cancel. It's like buy it all right now. If you can buy all of it, buy as much as you can and then cancel. That's that. Now, at all or none is buy all of it. So buy 100 shares at 50, no, not 100. Buy 1,000 shares at 50, all or none. That means buy all of it at 50 or don't buy any. You can't get a partial. But I can sit out there all day. So again, immediate or cancel is buy as much as you can. Whatever you don't buy, cancel and give it back. All or none is buy all of it or none of it, but I sit there all day. I can wait all day if I want, but it has to be done in one trade. A fill or kill, an FOK, is buy it all or buy none right now. It's an immediate all or none order. So buy 100 shares, buy 1,000 shares at 50, fill or kill. That means try to buy 1,000 shares at 50. If I can't buy all 1,000, cancel it. So immediate or cancel, buy as much as you can right now, cancel. All or none, buy all of it or none of it and leave it. Fill or kill is buy all, buy all of it or none of it and cancel. No, Berlato, nobody does these anymore. These are institutional orders, and they're more just some spoiled trader who wants to, I don't know, do something. They're not super effective. The immediate works sometimes because you just go, look, I'm buying from you. It's institutional. It's not retail. Most retail wouldn't even know what these are. So what happens is some guy will come in and say, oh, there's a seller out there, and I want him to kind of come up, sell it. So you give him a crazy order like this to try to make him pull the trigger. Okay. Cost basis of an inherited mutual fund, I don't think it's any different than anything else. It's going to be cost basis. So if I give you a mutual fund or I give you something as stock and I give it to you as a gift, you're getting the cost basis of when I bought it. So if I buy it at 20 and it's now at 50, when I give it to you, your cost basis is 20. If you sell it, you pay taxes above 20. If I die, and you inherit it from me, then you're getting, yes, it should be NAV because sales charge does not count toward cost basis. If I die and you inherit it, you get the NAV of when I die. That's what it is. It's not plus sales charge. Buy Diet Coke. Okay, now. I'm kidding. I don't have money. So past perfect. I've talked about this a few times. Past perfect covers everything, but they cover everything, which means sometimes it's a little too much. Their questions are harder, probably significantly harder. Their math is way harder, stuff like that. One of my students today got a question about the calculating the NAV. So really think about this. I don't know the question, but the theory. Say you have the POP of $10 and you have a sales charge of 8%. That means you're paying 8% below $10 for the NAV. So you would do, where the hell is it? You would do 10 times 100 minus the sales charge. So you do 10 times 0.92%. So you'd pay $9.20. Because remember, the sales charge is based on the sales charge is based on the POP. Okay, good. Okay, I think we're good on that. Okay, I think I got most of the questions done. Did I miss any ordering types? Yeah, I already said to Dan, I'm not helping you out to be a financial advisor. You're on your own with that. Okay. 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 You're giving me questions from the FINRA exam. So an asset-backed security is like a CMO. It's backed by mortgages. So the thing is, they don't know when it's going to be. They don't know when it's going to mature. So they have to do it based on the average life because they don't actually know when it's going to mature. So asset-backed securities on this test are CMOs, which are mortgage-backed securities. So you don't know when people are going to refinance. So you have to do it on the average life, not the actual. You don't know what it's going to be. I mean, you hope it's going to be 20 years, but it could be 8. So they take it on the average of all of them. Guys, remember, this SIE, it's not easy, but it's not hard. And there are people who miss it. It's not a big deal. By the way, so what I tell everyone, say you don't pass tomorrow. You will, but say you don't. Don't panic and don't think I have to wait 30 days. Start studying for the top off right away. Start studying for the top off. So you can probably take that in 3 or 4 weeks. And that is like studying for the SIE also. So then you really only add a week to your studying anyway, because I would hope that you would study for the top off for a month. So take the SIE. If you pass it, awesome. If you don't, start on the top off right away. And then at the end of the 3 weeks, bang out the top off. And then a day or two later, take the SIE. And really all it did was change your life by about a couple of days. A lot of my students are starting to take the top off first and then the SIE because it helps a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I hope that helped, Mike, with that. So, Mike, since it's 9:30 at night, you should be done studying. If your test is tomorrow, I wouldn't kill yourself too much on it. Don't go up. Don't stay up all night studying, taking tests. Really work on work on just the what do you call it? Just work on adding some knowledge. Like read some of the customer FINRA related stuff. Okay. Okay. So bid and ask is, here's the thing. So if the bid is 14 and the ask is 14.30, you're not losing money because you're not selling it. It's just where people are willing to sell it. In real world, they're not so big. But say it's 10 cents. Say you have it just means there's not a lot of people doing it. The whole goal, you're not buying an ETF to trade out of it the next day. So here's the thing. Berlato asked this question. Why are spreads in ETFs so large? Like if the spread is big between bid and ask, why aren't I losing money right away when purchasing an ETF? Well, or why are you? You have to pay the ask, okay? Right, Mike, it's less liquid, so there's less people around. If you were to buy the ask and then immediately sell it at the bid, yes, you'd lose money. But the goal is to buy it and have it raise a little bit, have it go up. So say you buy it at 14.30 and then the market goes up 10%. Hopefully you're now at 15.80 and then you could sell it there. You're not trying to trade in between. That's what the market makers do. They buy at the bid or they try and then they try to sell at the ask. and they make the spread as a commission or a markup markdown. So yeah, I mean, in reality, if you pay the ask, you are losing money right away, but that's where you have to pay because that's where people are willing to sell it. Okay? Okay, not a problem. Okay, I am going to call it a night. Yeah, exactly. Spreads, that's how the money, that's how market makers make their money on the spreads and the markup markdown. Hey, guys taking it tomorrow, good luck. Do not stay up all night studying. You should be going to bed pretty soon. Granted, if you're in California, it's not. So, yeah, definitely go out and tell me how you did. And then if you guys need help on the top off, let me know. I won't do free videos on that because as much as spreads are the market makers' bread and butter, the top offs are mine. That's where I get people to pass. And all these people have jobs. I have so many people at work right now that are there because, not because of me, they do the work, but I'm going to take credit for it. Guys, thanks a lot. Good night. Again, if you work for a firm and you think it's helpful, let them know. And I also come out and visit people, not for free. I'm not really pitching. I'm just saying it because I'm tired. Listen, guys, have a good night. I'll probably be on next. I think it's going to be next Tuesday again because the lacrosse season he plays Saturdays and Wednesdays. And again, I can't do it during lacrosse games. I do like my son a little bit. And he's a senior and captain, which is great. So I'm just hoping that I get to see him play before he's done. You all have a good night, and this will be up there. I think within about 30 minutes, I usually get it up on the thing. Good night, kiddos. Have a great night.